You know, for many football fans, the football at the World Cup is not the only thing to be excited about. It's the adventure, the journey into the unknown, a chance to discover foreign lands. And these two Iceland supporters have certainly embraced that sentiment, driving 5,000 kilometres from Reykjavik to Volgograd to support their team against Nigeria on Friday. And as if that kind of a trip wasn't arduous enough, they actually did it in a Russian-built Lada car. And it took them 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, actually, that's nothing. Amanda, we know of another trip to the tournament that took even longer. It sounds like you've been making some interesting friends today.
Yeah, Don. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to come here pretty regularly since 2013, when we started building up to the Winter Olympics in Sochi. But since then, I've been here for the Formula One, for the Confederations Cup, and for trips looking ahead to this World Cup. And I think it's fair to say I've never covered a major sporting event with quite such a raft of negative stories in the run-up. And I don't say that lightly, because we know these major events have negative headlines, don't we? So I've been really, really keen that while we're here, we tell the real story of what it's like, how people are really finding their Russian experience. So today I sat down with a Russian journalist, Robert Ustian. He was born close to Sochi in the south, but he now lives here in Moscow. And also two guys who have definitely worked harder than most to get here, Jamie Marriott and Mitch Jones. Well, they left England on May the 25th, and they cycled the 2,400 miles to Volgograd, where England played their first game against Tunisia on Monday. And as they've raised money for the Bobby Moore Fund, they've experienced a whole lot more of Russia than most people ever will at this World Cup. So I was fascinated to get their take on how it's been playing out. So how was the reality of travelling through Russia compared to the expectation? What kind of reception did you get from people? And presumably you went through some places that aren't used to British guys on a bike.
When we crossed into Russia, they didn't even know that. I generally don't think they knew they was hosting the World Cup.
We crossed through Belgorod, so it's just north-east of Kharkiv, and showing them, they were looking for our passports. They said, "Oh, visa," and I said, "Here's our visa with the fan ID," and they had no idea. Had no idea about
it. They just kept flicking for our passports, trying to find our visa, and we managed to catch the opening game, Russia v Saudi Arabia. We thought we was going to pull in and it would be absolutely bouncing wherever we went, but we walked in, we had to request for the restaurant to put the World Cup on, and there'd be Russian families coming in looking to just eat food, and they'd see that the football was on, they weren't even bothered.
And it's interesting, Robert, isn't it? I was here last year for the Confederations Cup, and the mood then was very much, we just want to get through this tournament. I think there'd been so many negative headlines, and there was a lot of concern about it. It seems now, it was changing at the start of the tournament, but now here we are kind of 10 days in. And is the Russian perspective that there's now a whole lot more people excited about it, do you think?
This World Cup turned to be like a cry from the depths of Russian people, because they really felt that they are widely disrespected and wrongly presented at international arena. That's why they go out of themselves to show the best of the country. And that's why sometimes I see amazing things. For yesterday on a bus, an English fan and a bit of a drunk guy from Russia, they had zero ability to speak, because none of them speak Russian and English. They used Google Translate. And this drunk Russian guy asked on a Google Translate, where was that guy from? He said, England. And he said, oh, England. And that was the next was he stopped, but he turned back and wrote that, don't listen to the media, come and visit us. I think these anecdotes are the best to show how these people want to be a part of this global community.
Do you guys speak Russian?
No.
So how have you managed to communicate?
To communicate in Russia at restaurants or whatever, we just had to mime, we'd either want chicken or cows or...
But it works, the universal language.
You did get quite good at miming and charades, didn't you? It was quite good.
Absolutely, yeah.
The view of Russians from the outside is that they're not necessarily the most smiley, warm people.
Not at all.
I think Russians, they just want a hug.
Does it work?
Well,
I haven't hugged any Russians yet, to be fair,
I get the impression that all Russians, they just want a nice hug and to express themselves.
We've seen people walking around, lots of international fans having their photos taken with each other, and Russians are getting involved, but it's something of a culture shock in many ways.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Amanda, it's important to give some statistics to what you have just said. Only 18% of Russians have ever traveled abroad. And you know, 15%, I'm sure of that 18%, travel just to Turkey or Egypt for their summer vacation. So these statistics actually show us that this is a cultural shock. And you know, what I say, what guys amazingly say here, yes, I call our people as walking icebergs. You know, I think they are really cold.
Yeah.
When you open your heart to somebody while being cold, a bit closed, it's really something different that you feel.
Yeah, like, all Russian people have been class, like absolute class.
No, I think, no, we have horrible people here. Like, I think, let's not generalize. You know, we are now going from one polar opinion to another. No, we have problems in this country. I hope you never meet them, but as a Russian citizen, for me, it's a huge question. What will be after the final whistle at Luzhniki Stadium? What will be the hooligan issue? What will be the racism issue? What will be homophobia issue here? That's why, guys, when you will be traveling safely and nicely to your home countries, we will be staying here and we will see what is the legacy issue that Amanda has very nicely underlined. I do hope this will be a point of no return in terms of perceiving each other, Amanda.
Don, honestly, it was such an interesting 25 minutes or so talking about everything, and that was even before we got onto the football. But, you know, we are only a week in, aren't we? We are going to be trying to do the same thing a number of times before the end of the tournament, getting perspectives from across the World Cup community. There are so many different people here doing different things, some fans, some working, and hopefully we'll get to know a whole lot more about what's really going on here across the biggest World Cup ever held on.
Yeah, hopefully we can all get to know each other and understand each other a bit better too. Amanda, great stuff. Thanks very much. And I do wonder what the folks Amanda got to talk to felt about Messi and Argentina being on the brink of elimination. One more look at all of the drama when we return.